What is going on, gunfighters? Welcome to Gunfighter Life, the podcast where we talk about guns and gunfighting and tactics the right way, with God at the center, Judeo-Christian values, and real-world first-hand experience. Today is the third attempt to get a podcast out for the general public. The first one was going to be a case study on Wyatt Earp and some of his quotes and commentary. I thought that was going to be a really good episode. And I did a lot of research, much more than most episodes. And I could not verify that he actually said these things. Like, apparently it was maybe an interview, maybe a public speaking thing, but I couldn't, as much as I've seen these quotes, I couldn't verify that they were actually said. By the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, a matter is established. Not hearsay. It is also written, "You shall not go about as a talebearer among your people." So I scrapped that episode. Then I recorded another one on just cool guns. I thought it would be cool to do just a fun episode on cool guns. But I was having a bit of a rough day, and a little bit of my personality came out. Probably more than I want to share with you guys in the general audience. So I think that's going out as a Patreon-only episode. Patrons get a lot of special content, if you don't know. Hopefully you become a patron because you want to support the show, but they do get a lot of insider Patreon-only content. I figured I would take a break and drive out to the wilderness to do some shooting, since that was going pretty rough. And I got out here, and right before I got here, I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but it's thunderstorming. So here I am in the car, the more mobile of the mobile studios. My wife and I live as neo-nomads, if you don't know. So we're always kind of in a mobile studio, but a more mobile studio. I'm sitting in the truck, and I figured, why not record this episode? I think this is going to be a good one. Best in breed. Now, I'm a big dog guy. I like dogs. I like purebred dogs. I like different breeds. I don't apologize for that. But one of the things that you will find in that kind of dog world is best in breed and best in show. I was originally thinking best in class, but hey, why not do best in breed? So I thought it would be a good episode. Best in breed in different categories. For instance, best in breed 1911. With that said, let's get started. And why not get started with the 1911 classic American warhorse? What do I think is the best in breed 1911 today? If we're talking about straight production guns, not talking about semi-custom like Wilson Combat and things like that. I really like Wilson Combat. If we're talking about straight production model, I'm going to have to go with the Ruger SR 1911. They make many models, but just the basic model is a good, solid 1911. American made. It would even maybe go in a good value category, but the Ruger SR 1911, for just a good, now it's not classic, like it's not a replica of a World War I 1911. However, for a good, modern, functional 1911 that doesn't stray too far off the path of like an STI 2011. Many people would argue that's not a 1911 at all, but I don't think many people would argue that the Ruger SR 1911 is not, in fact, a 1911. So if you're looking for a good 1911 just to get in the world of 1911s, to shoot, and even to carry, I think it's a good, reliable 1911. So I think best in breed for the 1911 goes to the Ruger SR 1911. How about, we talked about the 1911 being an American handgun. It certainly is that iconic American handgun. How about best in breed for America's rifle, the AR-15? What do I reckon is the best in breed AR-15? There are so many options. It's so popular. And this one, I think, still goes to the Colt 6920. the Colt 6920. It's the epitome of kind of the AR-15 M4. It's as close to an M4 as you're going to get. It's made by Colt. Now, if you can get one of the LE 6920s, I'd go that route. But the newer versions of 6920s, I still think they're a good gun. And, again, without going with something crazy custom, the Colt 6920. I mentioned that to a patron the other day, talking about your dream if you could only have one. And I think that would be mine. If we're not talking about a Piston 1911, we're not talking about a Piston AR-15. We're not talking about a crazy custom one. We're not talking about, a specialty purpose, but a good all-around gunfighting just to have a good solid AR-15. The Colt 6920. Again, if you can get an LE 6920, I'm not going to go into the minutia of the differences of those, but it is kind of what I think of when I think of the AR-15. I think it's what I would measure every other AR-15 against. And for that reason, I think it deserves best in breed, that Colt 6920. I know that Colt went through a pretty rough patch there, and I think they probably brought a lot of that on themselves. I don't know the inner workings of that company, but I am so happy to see that I think they're coming out on the other side of that. They've come out with a lot of really good models lately. They seem kind of stagnant for a while, but they've come out with a lot of really good guns lately. And I'm happy to see a good American gun company doing that. Unlike Remington, it seems kind of to still be stuck in this rut and struggling with quality control. I'm glad to see Colt doing better, and I hope they do better and better and better. And I have no problem recommending a Colt 6920. Now, the best shotgun. Best in breed shotgun. If we do shotgun, period, end of sentence. You know that I really like the shotgun. It's not because I like shooting with a shotgun or competing with a shotgun. It's probably the gun I train with the least, to be honest. I train the most with a handgun for a lot of reasons. It's the hardest gun to master, and it's the gun that I have on me most of the time. And throughout the day, I had a bunch of errands to get done today. Fill propane, because, we live a lot of chunks off-grid and get things done anyway. Just around town, right? I'm carrying a handgun. I'm not carrying a shotgun. But if you said I could only have one gun for the rest of my life, it'd be a shotgun. It's the most versatile, period. It may not be the coolest Instagram-y thing, but I think if I could only have one gun, or if it was apocalypse time and you didn't give me a caveat like there are hordes of Russian paratroopers falling out of the sky, kicking off, a real-world version of Red Dawn. You're talking just the world as we know it is coming to an end. You get one long gun. It's going to be the shotgun for me. And if that is my breed standard, like I get one long gun, I get a shotgun. What's the best in breed shotgun? And it really, this one really was duking it out, and it has been duking it out in my head for a while. I still think, though, if you gave me one caveat, because maybe the world ends as we know it, maybe it doesn't, right? Maybe for decades, we just are in this slow decline of the empire. And I can still go out and recreationally shoot and do all kinds of stuff. And anyway, the one that I came down on is the Benelli M2. There are better pure combat shotguns. There are probably better pure waterfowl hunting shotguns, but those are caveats. Best in breed shotgun, Benelli M2. Case in point, there are many competitive 3-gun shooters that run Benelli M2s. There are many hunters that run Benelli M2s. It straddles that line superbly. I once sold my Benelli M1, sadly, and got an M4 for my go-to shotgun, and I quickly sold that Benelli M4. I think I bought it new and sold it used, so I took a hit on it, but I quickly realized that was not going to be my one go-to shotgun. It is a good combat shotgun. It is not a good crossover shotgun. The Benelli M2 that I have, after having many shotguns, I've settled on as maybe my go-to. There's a caveat, I might choose something else, but that Benelli M2 is probably the best crossover for most things. For if times change drastically or if they stay the same. It's a good hunting shotgun. It's a good defensive shotgun. It's a good competitive shooting shotgun. It's a great home defense shotgun. It's a great, big game hunting shotgun. I have mine with a rifle-sighted barrel. Not a rifled barrel, but a rifle-sighted barrel. I also have it with a very short, I think 21-inch vent rib barrel. It's a great combo. There's not much that I wouldn't feel comfortable handling with that shotgun. So the Benelli M2, I think it's the best all-around shotgun. Best in breed if you're just talking shotgun. It's going to be that Benelli M2. A lot of people would say the Beretta 1301, and I like Beretta. I really like Beretta as a gun company. They may be my favorite gun company, period. But I like the inertial system. If you talk about hard times, that inertial system is a lot cleaner running. It doesn't go to the bathroom where it eats. It's a lot cleaner running system, a lot simpler system, in my opinion. A lot more forgiving of lack of maintenance, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with an inertial gun for sure, which is why I went with it in the first place over a gas gun. If I'm picking the one best in breed shotgun, it's going to be Benelli M2. If we broke that down, right? If we, doing the dog analogy, if that was the hound group, and the hounds are a big group, if we broke that down into sight hounds and scent hounds, which are vastly different, right? A greyhound hunts way different than a bloodhound. They're both good hunting dogs. They're both hounds. But if we broke that down and we said, what's the best pump shotgun? I think there's no question, especially with Remington in the state that it's in with quality control. And I really wanted to like them when the 870 came back out. And I have more combat shotgun experience with the 870 than anything else. When they came back out, I went and paid, new price. I bought a new Remington 870. It's a horrible shotgun. Horrible. I mean, how do you mess up the 870? It's a gun they've been making for so long. Thing didn't feed, wasn't reliable. So I can't recommend that one. That one's off the table. If you want to find an old Remington Police Magnum or Wingmaster, fantastic shotgun. But for today, best in breed of the pump action shotguns, I think, without question, this one's not even hard. It's going to be the Mossberg 590S. And I denoted that very specifically, the 590S. The S lets you shoot short shells. Short shells are a thing offered by Aguila and by Federal. They let you have far more capacity than the standard shell, which is something that's always bantered about how the shotgun's not good enough because it doesn't hold enough shells. Well, my Mossberg 590S holds 13, maybe 13 plus 1, but 13 mini shells of number 4 buck. I mean, that's a lot of firepower. You might think that 13 compared to the 30 rounds of an AR-15, but even those mini shells, I believe, have 15 rounds of a projectile of similar diameter. Now, it's not exactly the same, but 15 rounds per shell times 13. Do that math. Compare that to 30 rounds. So, those mini shells are awesome for that. They're also awesome for carrying more ammo. And there are adapters and stuff you can get to shoot mini shells in other guns. But as far as I know, for a pump-action shotgun, the Mossberg 590S is unique in that you can mix and match. I can load a couple of rounds of full Magnum, 3-inch high brass rounds. Then I can also load a couple of short shells and mix and match for whatever reason. Right? That's unique to that. Also, the Mossberg 590 is a fantastic shotgun. They are reliable, they are rugged, they are robust, they have dual extractors, which, why not have that redundancy? It's a great design. It's still going strong. It's a proven platform, military, law enforcement, and it doesn't seem to have gone through the woes of quality control that the 870 has. So, best in breed, pump shotgun, Mossberg 590S. Done. The next one's going to be a fun one. The next one is going to be a fun one. The best 22 rifle for that youth shooter to get them on the path to becoming a rifleman. And this is one of the few things I'm going to share with you that I talked about on the Patreon only podcast today. But if you have a young shooter and you want to get them on the path to becoming a rifleman, there are many choices. You could go with the Ruger 1022, and that's a great 22. But if you're talking about youth shooting, to get them into this heritage of becoming a rifleman, a man that can not just shoot a rifle safely, but really be a good marksman. There's one I think that is going to win this one. You may be familiar with the Keystone Cricket. Heck, I have one. I'm a grown man. I still love going out and shooting with it and going out and taking my hound, Alexander Hamilton the Ridgeback, out into the wilderness and just with a single shot 22, having fun and shooting whatever comes along that's, ethical to shoot. That's one of the things I brought along when I was teaching him to hunt, and I wanted a little bit of challenge for myself. I have much more capable 22s as far as firepower go. The Keystone Cricket. But wait, there's more. I'm not just recommending the Keystone Cricket. Keystone makes a shrunken down version of the Mosin Nagant. If your child, the Keystone Cricket would be a good first gun, but if you're talking about like a pass down to his kid, really cool gun that they may not make forever, that's just a really cool gun. And if your kid is at all into history, if they're into World War II, those kind of things, if that's something, and you know your child better than me, but if that's something they're into, if that's something that intrigues them, as, they're somebody that's into history at all. If not, this may not be the gun for them, but this is what I would recommend getting for that young man that's into history and you want to get them into shooting and becoming a rifleman. Really, Keystone makes a shrunken down Mosin Nagant. It looks remarkably like a Mosin Nagant. I got the chance to handle one when I was managing a firearms training and gun company. One came in the door. It was just really cool. So if you're looking for that, like to get that young man or even young lady into becoming a rifleman on that journey, I just think that's the best in breed. There are a lot of guns that you can get. There are a lot of bolt action 22s that you can get that are good. But if you're talking about a little bit extra, like something they may really appreciate, that's just really cool, that, when they go to the range or maybe go out shooting with their friends and they all have 1022s and they see this, they're like, ooh, that's really cool. That's like a Mosin Nagant. I just think that's a really cool thing. And that's going to win my best in breed, in my opinion, if I'm judging the breed. But that's the best youth 22. If you ask me what's the best go-to hunting 22, not the best survival 22, not the best dual-purpose hunting and defense 22, just the best hunting 22 from a pure hunting standpoint. I want to go out. I'm not in a survival situation. I'm not going out, and I love to do this, just going out in the wilderness with a Bible and a gun, putting meat on the table. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you're just going out. Maybe you got your LL Bean boots and a plaid flannel shirt, and you just want to go out and hunt squirrels, rabbits, whatever is ethical, legal in your area to hunt. Just a good, solid hunting 22. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with dog shows. I don't know if there can be a tie for best in breed, but this one is going to be a tie. The number one I'm going to recommend, the Browning T-Bolt. The Browning T-Bolt is a really, really cool, again, one of the ones you would pass down. A really good bolt action 22. Another one that I would call it a tie. CZ makes a really good bolt action 22. So, you talk about that, you're looking at that, just whichever one you think is more appealing to you, but that CZ bolt action 22, neither one of these are cheap guns. This is not the best value 22 hunting rifle. that honor would probably go to a Savage bolt action 22. I'm talking about like a really good, high quality, good hunting 22. I think that CZ or that Browning, either one really. Now, if we talk about the best 22 handgun, and by handgun you can bifurcate that can split into two. That could be pistol or revolver. But for this, I'm just going to call it one category. Best in breed 22 handgun. The Ruger Single 6. Now, Ruger makes a better value, you might argue, in the Ruger Wrangler, or even better value than that, probably the Heritage Rough Rider. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking best 22 handgun. If you just, again, want a fun handgun to go out and shoot or hunt small game with, if you want to get into the world of small game hunting with a handgun, or you want that heirloom quality thing to pass down, you want to move that kid, he's already on the path to becoming a rifleman, I would start them off with a rifle, and you think he's mature enough to move to a handgun. A great youth handgun to take them out and have them get familiar with handgun shooting, the fundamentals. Maybe even you guys go out and do some handgun hunting or just some plinking, right? Let's not forget shooting can be fun. Go out and shoot some cans, some sporting clays, and not just the cheapest 22 that can accomplish that, but one that's really nice that he would like to have when he's older and still take out and shoot and have fun with. That Ruger Single 6, I think, is a phenomenal choice. They make many, but any of the good, mid-size, shootable ones, that's just a really cool 22 handgun. And that's going to win the best in breed for me for best 22 handgun. I'll come back to 22 later, but let's get off that because some people just aren't 22 people. They're tactical people, man. It's got to be tactical or it's not worth it. If it's not going to be on the cover of Recoil magazine, you're not even interested. Okay, I got you. What about the best polymer striker fire on the market today? This is an overcrowded breed, right? I think this breed has been well overrepresented. There are so many polymer striker fired handguns. One, because they're cheap and easy to produce. However, it's a giant category. Perhaps we'd liken it to the working group. The best in breed for polymer striker fired handgun in 2023. The Sig Sauer M17. I'm going to pick that one. It is the military's new combat handgun. So it's a good polymer striker fired handgun. Not only is it a good polymer striker fired handgun, good enough to be American military's new choice for their combat handgun. It wouldn't honestly have been what I would have chose for the military. I'm going to be honest about that. I'm going to be honest that I didn't want to like that gun. I bought it reluctantly. I've been training with it. I don't think it's the best handgun out there, but for the best polymer striker fired handgun of 2023, I think it's going to win best in breed. And by M17, the M17, the M18, the 320, it's taken on a big share of the market. Also, it's modular. If you get it and you decide, hey, I don't like the grip, you can get a whole other frame, right? You can take out that fire control unit, which is pretty neat, and put it in something completely different. You could buy the M17 and decide you want to carry a smaller gun and turn it into a subcompact. It's a really cool concept. It's a really cool handgun in that regard. And the fact that the military has not yet vomited it out of its mouth, the M17, it's a pretty reliable handgun. I don't think it's probably as reliable as a Glock 17 because it has more moving parts and some other things. However, if it was that unreliable, you'd hear all about it, right? It's a reliable, I think much better ergonomics and much more modular, interchangeable, which I think is much more applicable to you than it is the military, because I doubt they're asking Private Smith what grip module he would like today, right? They're issuing it to him and that's it. So the modularity for them, I think, was kind of overstated. But for you, the concealed carrier, the handgun aficionado, sommelier, that kind of thing is really cool. So I think best in breed, if I'm picking, the M17. The M17 specifically comes with a thumb safety, which I like. It also comes ready to mount an optic, again, which I like. So if we're talking best in breed, I'm going to pick the Sig Sauer M17. What about the best combat handgun? Not polymer striker fired handgun. Best combat handgun. Well, if you listen for any length of time, this may not come as a shock to you, but to many it might, because a lot of people hate on this gun. But I think it's the best combat handgun designed ever, period, which is a bold statement. But I'm going to stand by it. The one that the M17 replaced, the Beretta 92 family, although not the military's version. I think one of the downfalls of that gun is the safety decocker on the slide. As I understand it, and verify this for yourself, but do the research, as I understand it, the original design going back further had a frame-mounted thumb safety. I like that better. If you're going to get one of the slide-mounted versions, convert it to the decocker only, which is not that hard to do. So in the actual 92, or I guess the Beretta M9, I don't like that version as much. But if we're talking the epitome of everything that makes that gun great, that falling, locking block system, the crazy accuracy out of a combat handgun, the smooth shooting of that handgun, the elegance of that handgun, which I think outdoes pretty much any polymer striker fired handgun, in a better ergonomic, better combat / fast, consistent configuration. They make the Beretta 92X models. They make single action, or they make the X model, which has a frame-mounted thumb safety, which you could carry cocked and locked hammerback safety on, like a 1911. I think that's a way better version. They make a couple of versions. They make the performance one, which I really, really like. I wish it had a alloy frame, and it doesn't. It has a full steel frame, which for just shootability is great. So if we're talking a combat handgun, not concealed carry handgun, it's going to have to go that way. They have come out with a version with the alloy frame, which I'll be honest, I have a rule about gunfighting handguns. They need to be out for 3 years. Once it's out for 3 years, I may be looking at getting that for my go-to everyday carry gun. But as it stands now, for the best combat handgun I think that you can buy, period. And you may disagree with this, and that's fine. But if I'm picking best in breed, it's going to be that Beretta 92X with the frame-mounted thumb safety performance model. I don't see any reason, and I haven't heard any reports of it being any less reliable than the Beretta M9, which is a phenomenally reliable gun, no matter what myths you may hear about frames that crack when people shot the wrong ammo out of the gun, which is not a fault of the gun. Crazy reliable. And not only reliable, because the Glock gives you reliability, but it gives you elegance and ergonomics and fast shooting and just an unrivaled, I think, in a combat handgun, accurate 9mm high capacity combat handgun. So that's what I'm picking for the best in breed combat handgun. All right, I said I'd get back to it. Let's talk about what I think is the best survival 22. You're grabbing your inch bag. I'm never coming home, man. Heading for the hills. I'm literally in the hills, in the wilderness of the Redoubt, literally on a barely dirt road. Up in the hills in the Idaho wilderness. We're talking about you're hitting the hills with your I'm never coming home bag, grabbing a survival 22. Which to me means primarily, mostly small game procurement, but may also need to pull double duty as defense. For this, I think one stands out. The Ruger 1022 would be a fine one, even if you just got the straight model stainless steel Ruger 1022. But you can do better. That wouldn't win my best in breed. Maybe best in value. They make a takedown model. also good. But if you really want to up the quality, Volquartsen or Tactical Solutions. Tactical Solutions, I think, is where I'm going to settle for this. They make a takedown version, not technically a Ruger because they make it, because whatever the patent is expired, but Tactical Solutions makes a lightweight, and if it's like any other Tactical Solutions product I've ever had, really good quality, really accurate, lightweight takedown Ruger 1022 platform. That's the one that's going to win best in breed for me for Survival 22. You want a good takedown, reliable, good optics mounting option, good iron sights, Survival 22. With all the aftermarket support that you get and all the accessories you can do to a Ruger 1022 platform. That Tactical Solutions 1022 takedown. And they make several different models, but any of those models, I think, that come with iron sights are going to be a phenomenal choice. So Tactical Solutions takedown Ruger 1020 based on a Ruger 1022 model. Phenomenal. Semi-automatic, good reliability, good aftermarket support, meaning you can get high capacity magazines and many other things for that gun. Phenomenal choice. How about best in class Revolver? You want that wheel gun. Best in class wheel gun. Like if you put me in the same kind of boat as the shotgun, I only get one revolver. Has to do all the things. I'm not talking about a pocket revolver. I'm not talking about a specific concealed carry revolver. Just a revolver that'll do the most things. The best in breed for revolver. Best all-around revolver. I'm going to go with the Smith & Wesson Model 66. Just a good, well-balanced. I'm talking about the 4-inch stainless steel 357 Magnum. You can shoot 357 Magnum. You can shoot 38 Special. I can hunt with it. I can carry it for defense. It's not so big that I wouldn't carry it on a belt. Really well built. I could probably shoot it for a lifetime. I could go out and train with it. Again, I carry it for defense. I could hunt with it. I have been blessed to do a lot of handgun hunting. I have taken more animals with a handgun by God's grace than I'm not just trying to brag, but than anybody I know. There probably is somebody out there, Elmer Keith maybe, but I have taken a lot of animals with a handgun. If you told me I had to hunt with that, I would be like, great hunting handgun. Also a great defensive handgun. So if I'm picking one handgun, for one revolver for best in breed, if you're talking even just one handgun for dual purpose hunting and defensive carry, it would be a good choice. But the best in breed revolver, K-frame, good medium-sized revolver, I'm going to go with that Smith & Wesson Model 66. Best in breed revolver. What if I don't want to hunt with a handgun? What if I want to hunt with a rifle? Best in breed, center fire, medium to large game, bolt action hunting rifle. That's what we're talking about. Like a go-to deer and elk or deer and bear or whatever. Just a big game, medium-sized game up into your megafauna, bolt action hunting rifle. I am going with, for me, it has to be, right? No other caveats, like a go-to hunting rifle. To me, it has to be controlled round feed. If it's going to be my go-to hunting rifle, and this is for all my go-to hunting rifles, and I have specialty hunting rifles, but for my go-to hunting rifles, it's got to be controlled round feed. That limits the market considerably because push round feeds are a lot cheaper to mass produce, I think. And everybody today is crazy about the pinpoint accuracy. Again, this is not the best shooting at 1,000 yards PRS rifle. This is the best go-to hunting rifle. If I'm picking a go-to hunting bolt-action rifle, I want controlled round feed. If you don't exactly know what I'm talking about, I did a whole episode, push feed versus controlled round feed, but I want a controlled round feed. That narrows the market considerably. I think the best controlled round feed made today, hunting rifle made today, which again, I'm going to go with a controlled round feed, is the Kimber 84 series. If I'm picking one, I'm going to pick the Mountain Ascent. A Kimber Mountain Ascent in your go-to caliber. 280 Ackley improved, great choice. 30-06, great choice. 308, great choice. Whatever caliber best fits your niche. But the Kimber Mountain Ascent, best in breed for a go-to bolt-action hunting rifle, bar none, right? That one's easy for me. There are many that are good. If you're giving me caveats like a good varmint hunting rifle or something, I might go something different. But best bolt-action hunting rifle, Kimber Mountain Ascent. They're light, they're handy, they're stainless steel, they're controlled round feed, they're made well, they're just buttery smooth. They're just great go-to hunting rifles. And perhaps the last one we're going to talk about today, the best concealed carry handgun, right? And now I carry a full-size fighting handgun day to day. I carry what most would consider like a combat handgun day to day. Full-size fighting handgun, and I vacillate between two, which I've talked about. It's neither one of those. Most people carry a subcompact or compact or subcompact handgun for concealed carry. Most people aren't concealed carrying a full-size fighting handgun. Obviously, I think a full-size fighting handgun is a better choice. If you think you might get in a gunfight, you probably don't want a handgun. And if you do end up with a handgun, you probably don't want a little baby handgun. You probably want a full-size handgun. But most people day to day are not carrying full-size handguns concealed. So if I'm picking for the broadest spectrum, again, no other caveats, not like you're going to carry a full-size fighting handgun or you really like a revolver. You're just asking me to pick for the broadest audience, the best concealed carry handgun, best in breed on the market today in 2023. The Sig Sauer P365XL, optics ready. And a couple of caveats on that. I like the XL. I like the longer sight radius. I like the extra barrel length. It's still a small gun. But one of the things about going from a full-size fighting handgun to a compact handgun or a subcompact or micro subcompact handgun is you lose barrel length. Not only does that limit your sight radius, it also cuts down on your velocity. Again, handguns are not the best stopping guns to begin with. And a big chunk of the R&D that goes into defensive handgun rounds goes into police, law enforcement, duty handguns, which are full-size fighting handguns. Hollow points are velocity-based. When you start chopping off barrel length, you start reducing the likelihood that that hollow point is actually going to expand. For both those reasons, the sight radius, I would add shootability, and also the extra velocity, and therefore the added benefit of more likely to have your hollow point expand. I'm going to go with the 365 XL. And why would you not go with the optics ready version? Even if you decide you don't want an optic on your concealed carry handgun, you should probably get a gun in 2023 that has the option to be turned into a convertible and take the top off and mount an optic. Why would you not do that? Why would you not go with that option? So the SIG 365 XL. Another thing a lot of people, I think, may not realize, they may know that the 320 is a modular handgun platform, meaning you can mix and match grips and slides. You get that same chassis system in the 365. So if you decide the XL is a little bit too long, guess what? You can convert it to a regular 365. There's all kinds of aftermarket support. You could decide all kinds of things. You could decide you want a custom grip module and do that. So if I'm picking best in breed concealed carry handgun for 2023, and I don't even own one. I'm very familiar with them, working on them, mounting stuff on them. I'm very familiar with the gun. I don't even own one, again, because I carry a full-size fighting handgun generally. But if I'm picking for the vast majority, best concealed carry handgun of 2023, really it's a pretty easy pick to choose the SIG P365 XL, optics ready. Now, again, no other caveats. With this breed and all the other breeds we talked about, that doesn't mean it's best for you. Right? You, again, may be a revolver guy. When I go super subcompact, I generally carry a lightweight scandium frame 357 Magnum in my pocket. If I'm going to carry on my belt and I'm going to carry an overshirt, why wouldn't I just carry a full-size fighting handgun? That's me. May not be you. You may decide that for whatever reason you want to push feed. You want that uber accurate. You hunt super long range. Then you're not probably going to pick a Kimber Mountain Ascent. I'm not saying these are best for you. I'm saying I'm picking best in breed. If you think I totally got that wrong from a best in breed standpoint, if you think the best concealed carry handgun is this, or the best all-around shotgun is this, let me know. I would like to know what you think. Guys, I'm not doing this for the money, right? I gave up a lot of money in other jobs to do this podcast. I do it because hopefully you guys appreciate it and come here for advice and guidance. And I'm humbled by that. And I like your feedback. So I hear from the patrons all the time. If you're part of the general population listening to this podcast, I thank you for your time. If you have feedback, I'd like to hear from you. You can go to goodshepherdtraining.com. You can leave a comment on the podcast. However you want to interact that way, you can do that. You can go check out the Patreon page. Most of that stuff is only for patrons. It's going to be locked. But a lot of that stuff I'll put out to the public on the Patreon page, knowing that the vast majority of people that go to my Patreon page are patrons. But if you want to check it out and get a little taste for what's there, there will be some things that you can check out. And you can try and contact me. Anyway, I'd love to know your feedback on any episode. But if anything you disagree with on this episode or have some thoughts, I'd like to hear from you. As a thanks for listening to all that, that's going to bring us to the tactical tip of the day and then the tactical verse of the day. Tactical tip of the day is going to be a good one. A simple one. A boonie hat. We're getting to the time of year, despite it being thunderstorming where I am, where a lot of people are going to go out in the sun, in the heat, and get some shooting in. If you weren't in the military, you may not be tracking on the boonie hat. Boonie hats are awesome for that kind of stuff, for maybe a short hike in the wilderness or for going out on a range day. Unlike a baseball cap that, is in front of your face, the boonie cap will also stop your ears from getting sunburnt, depending on the angle of the sun, hopefully your neck. I like them much better. In fact, I don't like baseball caps at all. I'm looking at my boonie hat right now. It generally rides on the dashboard of the truck. If you're getting ready for this shooting season, this training season, and you don't have a boonie cap, really consider a boonie cap. You don't have to spend a lot of money. It's not like it's a super expensive piece of kit, but the boonie hat really is a good piece of kit to have. I don't often just recommend a piece of kit, but a boonie hat for this season upcoming in gunfighting training. The boonie hat. It's an awesome piece of kit. Tactical verse of the day, going back to one of the reasons I scrapped, or at least tabled for now, the episode on Wyatt Earp and a case study in gunfighting, is you shall not go about as a talebearer among your people. And also, by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, a matter is established. 2 or 3 witnesses, not hearsay, not like, I heard that John did this, or I heard somebody say that John did this. Somebody that actually saw John do that, and then a separate, independent, verifiable witness that saw John do that. That is the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. A man shall not be put to death on the testimony of 1 witness. By the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, a matter is established. And if it's not established, don't go about spreading hearsay or rumors about your fellow man, right? That's not cool. And it's not cool because I don't think it's cool. It's not cool because God says you shall not go about as a talebearer among your people. Verifiable information is different than gossip. Anyway, with that, men, thank you for listening and have a blessed day.